Hi, Nick Adams. Tonight the Rebel was presented by Cheer. This is the one to use. Wash it so white you can see the difference.
At the 36th Academy Awards on April 13, 1964, there was a clear frontrunner to win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. It wasn't the acclaimed director John Huston, who received his one and only acting Oscar nomination for The Cardinal, and it wasn't Melvyn Douglas, who had given an acclaimed performance in the beloved Western Hud. It was an actor in his early 30s on his first nomination, Nick Adams, who played a prisoner in the 1963 courtroom drama Twilight of Honor. His nomination for his fairly small role was unexpected, and Adams saw a potential win as a major opportunity to advance his struggling film career. He spent thousands of dollars of his own money to have various publicists work around the clock to give him the maximum amount of exposure for Academy members. Adams was anywhere and everywhere throughout one of the first truly high-profile Oscar campaigns ever, and many thought he was going to win Best Supporting Actor. But as it turned out, he didn't win the coveted Academy Award that night, and 4 years later, he was dead. What was the story of this Oscar nomination? Who did he lose to? Why did he lose? And what caused his untimely death at the age of 36? My name is Brian Rowe, this is the awards contender, and in this video, we're talking the tragic story of Oscar-nominated actor Nick Adams. To start, let's go back to the beginning. Nick Adams was born in 1931 in small-town Pennsylvania, and after he graduated high school, he hitchhiked to Los Angeles to pursue a film career. He struggled for years to find acting jobs, serving for a while in the U.S. Coast Guard, but eventually he exploded onto the cinema scene in 1955 with 5 feature films, including the Oscar-winning Mr. Roberts and Picnic, and the legendary Oscar-nominated classic Rebel Without a Cause. His roles in the films were pretty minor, none of them caused much of a stir, but he was finally on his way. Throughout the rest of the 1950s, he worked steadily in films like Giant and Pillow Talk, and he also started getting lots of guest star roles in television. There was no part too small for Adams, but he also yearned for better, more substantial projects. He wanted to be a star, and in these early years of his career, he was already mining opportunities for publicity, first through capitalizing on his co-star James Dean's death by doing interviews with magazines and claiming he was being stalked by a crazed fan of the late actor. Second, Adams became close friends with Elvis Presley and did all he could to get lots of free publicity with the movie and music superstar, including publishing a detailed account of their friendship. At the tail end of the decade, Adams saw a little fame with his starring role in the television series The Rebel, which aired from 1959 to 1961, but he thought he was never going to be famous as a TV actor, so he returned to movies in 1962 with The Interns and Hell is for Heroes, followed by The Hook and Twilight of Honor in 1963. That latter film resulted in his first and only Oscar nomination. Directed by Boris Sagal, Twilight of Honor is a black and white courtroom drama about a U.S. Air Force veteran named Ben Brown, played by Adams, who is charged with the murder of a man who spent time with Brown's wife Laura. Widowed lawyer David Mitchell, played by Richard Chamberlain in his first movie starring role, is assigned to the case.
My cousin Vera had seen an advertisement in the papers for work with on-the-job training, so we wrote. I got a job. Went out there.
Continuing in the tradition that began in American cinema with 1959's Anatomy of a Murder starring James Stewart, Twilight of Honor showcased vivid accounts of prostitution, adultery, and sexual assault, and proved to be a very adult movie for American audiences in the early 1960s. One of the biggest mysteries surrounding Nick Adams' Best Supporting Actor Oscar nomination for this film has to be why he received it in the first place. In the Los Angeles Evening Citizen News, Sidney Skolsky wrote, "So what's with the Academy Awards? So far it has been very quiet in the campaign department, a few advertisements in the trade papers, and that's about it. It almost seems as if most of the people who have been nominated feel as if they don't deserve the Oscar and aren't making a run for it. That is, all except Nick Adams. Or could it be that many of the nominated actors and actresses believe that the Academy Award has lost prestige because Nick Adams was voted one of the 5 in the Best Supporting Actor category for his performance in Twilight of Honor? Twilight of Honor? It's a little picture MGM made to cash in on the popularity of Richard Chamberlain, it played to little audiences. Having watched this movie in full in recent days, I was underwhelmed with his performance, which mostly amounts to him sitting in courtrooms looking worried and scared. He's kind of in the background a lot, like in a lot of scenes but with little to do. He has one brief moment when he cries, another in a flashback where he tries to prevent an act of violence. Like, there's some elements to his performance. It's not nothing, but he does get very little to do, as opposed to the great Claude Rains, who in one of his final films gets a much showier and substantial supporting role in Twilight of Honor that would have made more sense to me as an Oscar nomination. He has long dialogue scenes with Richard Chamberlain, there's an arc to his character, there's just more going on with Claude Rains than there is with Nick Adams. And especially, I would say, with Claude Rains' 4 previous Oscar nominations for Best Supporting Actor in films like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and Casablanca. Like, that would have made more sense, but I guess at the beginning of the 1960s, Academy members were more open to giving younger actors Oscar nominations, especially in the supporting categories, and so Nick Adams made the final list. The movie itself, Twilight of Honor, is honestly pretty familiar and forgettable stuff, with nowhere near the emotional power of the previous year's courtroom drama To Kill a Mockingbird, which won Gregory Peck the Best Actor Oscar and got the young Mary Badham a Best Supporting Actress nomination. So it makes sense to me why Twilight of Honor only received 2 nominations at the 36 Academy Awards, Supporting Actor, of course, for Adams, and Art Direction, Black and Whites.
Twilight of Honor. Art direction, George W. Davis and Paul Gross. Set decoration, Henry Grace and Hugh Hunt.
The movie lost in the latter category to America, America, but again, with Adams spending more than $8,000 on publicity toward his Oscar nomination, many thought he was going to win in a category that also included Bobby Darin for Captain Newman, MD, Melvyn Douglas for HUD, Hugh Griffith for Tom Jones, and John Huston for The Cardinal. In the Daily Report, Harold Heffernan wrote, "Nick Adams is running hard today in a 5-man race to win the highest tribute Hollywood can bestow on one of its own, an Academy Award." His nomination for a cameo performance in Twilight of Honor pits him against, among others, the distinguished John Huston of The Cardinal. But Adams, true to form, isn't the least bit dismayed by such class competition. Exuding the confidence of a Barry Goldwater on the eve of a New Hampshire primary, Nick says, "I've got it made. I spent all the available cash I had, $8,500 for trade paper ads so people would know about the job I did in Twilight of Honor. I had to. Nobody saw the picture." He went on to say, "If I win the award this year, it would make me a heavyweight. It would help me get the kind of roles I like. I look forward to playing parts that John Garfield, Jimmy Cagney, and Humphrey Bogart used to do." In fact, Nick Adams was so certain of victory that according to Steve Skolsky, this apparently happened. The first actor to arrive for this 36 Academy Awards was Nick Adams. He arrived at 5:30. Nick, accompanied by his wife, took their seats in the then empty auditorium. An unofficial spy and usher told me that Nick practiced walking, skipping, trotting down the aisle to the stage to receive the Oscar. So yeah, he thought he was going to win. Was all that money, time, and effort for Adams going to pay off? Patty Duke, the previous year's Oscar winner and Best Supporting Actress for The Miracle Worker, came out on stage, read the names of the 5 nominees, and then revealed the winner.
The winner is Melvyn Douglas in HUD.
There it was. Adams lost to the much older veteran actor Melvyn Douglas for HUD, starring Paul Newman, a film the Academy had liked a lot more than Twilight of Honor, giving it 7 Oscar nominations total and 3 wins, including Best Actress for Patricia Neal. Douglas wasn't there to accept the prize for supporting actor, and his HUD co-star Brandon DeWilde accepted the prize on his behalf.
Mr. Douglas is in Spain, and he wished me to thank the members of the Academy and his fellow actors and the entire group that was on HUD for this honor. Thank you.
So yeah, the big Oscar moment for Nick Adams, something he thought was going to work wonders for his struggling acting career, didn't come to pass. It might have been that his movie just didn't click very well with Academy members. It might be that the performance wasn't strong enough to win, especially with reportedly many of his best scenes being left on the cutting room floor, so he had to stay in his seat that night, probably wondering what his next steps in the entertainment industry were going to be, not to mention why he spent all that money on an Oscar campaign that didn't pan out. Well, just as he feared, the career decline for Nick Adams began after he lost the Academy Award. After one more big movie role in 1965's Young Dillinger, Adams started accepting parts in low-budget Japanese science fiction movies like Frankenstein vs. Baragon and Invasion of Astro Monster. He continued working in film and TV in mostly low-budget productions, his career waning with each passing year. In early 1968, he bought his own plane ticket to Rome to film a horror movie called Murder in the Third Dimension, but when he arrived, he discovered the project had been canceled. He reportedly went to a local bar to drown his sorrows until he eventually returned to Los Angeles. And on the night of February 7, 1968, his lawyer and friend Irvin Roeder went to Adams' Beverly Hills home after the actor had missed their dinner appointment. Roeder found Adams dead in his bedroom, slumped against the wall. Many drugs were found in Adams' system, leading some to believe he suffered an accidental overdose or that he committed suicide. Others have speculated throughout the years that Adams was murdered, given that he was talking about writing a tell-all book that was apparently going to reveal sexual secrets in Hollywood. But these days, most people tend to believe it was an accidental death, not a suicide, not a murder. Whatever the cause might have been, it's a tragedy that the life of Nick Adams was cut short at the age of 36, and that he was never able to achieve the fame and opportunities he so desired in his acting career. He never got a great leading role in a movie, he never became a star, but he did achieve something that hundreds, thousands of accomplished actors never have. He got an Oscar nomination. That's not nothing. There was a brief moment in time when the Academy recognized the talent of Nick Adams, which by all accounts meant the world to him. His name might not be known by too many people today, but he is an Oscar-nominated actor, and that will always be a big part of his legacy. Just look at what was engraved on his tombstone. Nick Adams, July 10, 1931 to February 6, 1968. May our merciful God open for you the gates of the greatest Academy Award, heaven.